right, good morning. Wake the hell up. It's Brushfire Mind. Let me get the microphone over here. Woo! There we go. Now maybe you can even hear me. Hey, we're going to talk about some trade war stuff today. So much winning. Oh, oh, oh.
Got it. So much way.
Okay, so it's Tuesday. It's not Thursday. It's our splash there is for a Totar Win Thursday, but damn, we got one early this week. Trade war, total win. So and of course, Cameron, your camera's not behaving. Son of a bitch.
No.
I lost your camera.
I didn't do it.
I know.
Hey, well,
you talk for a minute.
yeah. So, how many trade wars does it take to beat China and collapse their dollar?
I don't know, Cameron. How many?
Just one.
That's the one.
That's the Cameron Anderson original right there. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, that's what happened. Remember last week when, at the end of the week, everybody was just losing their minds because we lost. Oh, no, the Dow went down 600 points. Yeah, 600 points on the Dow now. 600 points on the Dow under Obama was a big deal. But since let's see. This is where we got rid of the bad guy. This is where Oberrio went away. And this is where we are today, at nearly double that. Right? That little 600 points last week, nothing. Especially when you consider, oh, what's that? We got most of it back already? Guys, it's only Tuesday. And as far as the market's concerned, which is not open yet, it's still Monday.
Yeah.
Wait.
Total win. I mean, that's what the hell you did.
That's what. But China, oh, China. This is not a tiny drop. This is right here. Donald Trump said some stuff. He said, maybe we should push the tariffs higher. Boom. Boom. Dead. And what happens? Oh, China backs down on trade. What?
Yeah. And a couple of things to unpack. One, whenever the stock market goes up, it's always going to have a drop-off. Because if you trade stocks professionally, part of what you're supposed to do is take the money your clients give you, or take your own money, you invest it in a company, and then when the stock goes up, you sell the stock and take your profits. And it's a little more complicated than that because you got to factor in dividends and long-term projections and that sort of stuff. But if I buy 1,000 shares at $5 a share and it goes to $12 a share and I sell my 1,000 shares, well, duh, I just made a lot of money because, well, the price of the stock more than doubled. And I'm using really simple terms just to explain what happens, but it's weird if there's, an evil Cheeto president and there's a sell-off. Oh God, are we going for a recession? Are we going for a recession? But if there's a Democrat who's president, well, I mean, that's understandable. Every now and then you got to take some profits. You got to put some money in your own pocket. Or what are you doing this whole stock trading game for? Now, with regard specifically to China, and this is honestly something we could do a whole 3 hours on because it's a pretty complicated issue, but there's a few things to understand. Part of the reason why China is experiencing the economic growth that it's experiencing is because people are investing in their country. It is what it is. Why build a factory here when you can build it in China and you've got 1/10 of the regulation that you have to go through? There's some irony. The commies have fewer regulations than the capitalists. And then on top of that, you totally pay people $1 an hour. And you say, oh, that's terrible. That's slave labor. Well, yes and no. That's one of those issues that requires more nuance. Because in China, if you can be a fisherman and possibly starve to death because you don't catch enough fish, or you can go build iPhones for $1 an hour, that's actually a viable option. Things like this are good for the entire world. It's a way of introducing perestroika, in a sense, to China. The third thing to understand is that China manipulates their currency. And that is a Ponzi scheme that, like all other Ponzi schemes,
You mean like Social Security?
that will eventually collapse. That is something that happens. And so what Donald has done correctly is like, yeah, we need China and China needs us. But China needs us more. So, fine, I'll play chicken. And let me be really clear. It is possible that this could have negative effects for the entire world economy temporarily. But the country that it's really going to affect the worst is China. So
let me just point some stuff out real quick. Remember back at the beginning of 2017 when the Donald had just been inaugurated, right? And there was this tiny little dip just beginning of last year. There was this little dip here, and that was the end of the world. And of course, that was because of Donald Trump, right? But oh wait, look at all that huge boom, record high. The first year of the Donald in office, just crap, climbing through the roof. And then there was this dip, and remember, that was the end of the world. Oh, this is because Donald Trump's such a terrible. Oh, wait. We recovered all of it in a week. Recovered all those losses in a week. And remember, that was, oh, well, this is because the economy's strong on the back of Obama's good work. But this dip was Donald Trump's fault. But I seem to recall, okay, here's back in 2008 where it started to drop off, right? Well, remember, the story has always been that the economy crashed under George W. Bush, and Obama inherited an absolute mess, and da-da-da-da-da. Wait a minute. Wait. February 27th, 2009, that looks like about the low point right there. Is that, oh yeah, that's the, how is that one not Obama's fault, and then the little bit of gain back after that, the clear result of Bush's good work previously? And I'm not saying it is. My point is the clear double standards and hypocrisy on that whole conversation. This is what the economy has done under Donald Trump. Okay, it's just exploded. This little dip is nothing.
Yeah, and we're still one of the most heavily regulated and complexly taxed societies on the face of the earth. All that Donald did was just pull all that stuff back a relatively small amount and off like a shot. It's not that conservatives want you to have dirty air and water and all that other bullshit Obama used to talk about. It's that conservatives, especially fiscal conservatives, understand that if you get out of the way and let people earn as much or as little as they choose, we find an equilibrium. There's nothing wrong with wanting to just work your 40 hours a week, make your $40,000 a year, get you 2 weeks of paid vacation, and just be done. Nothing wrong with that. Takes all kinds. That's not exploitation of workers. That's a choice that people make. There's also nothing wrong with working 80 hours a week and trying to get yourself up to $250,000 a year in salary. Again, it takes all kinds. But this is the thing that happens. Okay, seriously, truth bomb. FDR didn't save us from the recession. FDR prolonged the recession. I mean, freezing banks. By years. Freezing banks, seizing gold. I actually had somebody tell me recently, hey man, FDR got the unemployment rate all the way down from 23% to 14%. And I'm like, you think 14% unemployment is a success story? Especially when the 14% unemployment lasts for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Guys, central planning sucks. Socialism, quasi-socialism, corporatism. Like, seriously, you want to end corporate welfare? Get rid of the progressive tax code. Corporate welfare cannot exist outside of the progressive tax code. You want guys like Steve Jobs, well, not Steve Jobs. Bad example. Bill Gates.
Now excuse me while I turn heaven a prophet.
Yeah. But you want guys like Bill Gates and Mitt Romney and Warren Buffett, whatever, to pay more in taxes? You simplify the tax code. It's pretty darn simple. In fact, you want them to pay the most taxes possible. We roll over to a fair tax or a flat tax. Because if we all pay 15% of our income, period, end of sentence, no exceptions, well, the guy that makes $1 million a year is going to pay a hell of a lot more in taxes than the guy that makes $50,000 a year.
Okay, just real quick. I'm a fair tax guy over flat tax because the difference being that the fair tax does not include an income tax at all. The fair tax is there are taxes on goods, so you never pay a tax involuntarily, right? My problem with the flat tax is one of the many problems that I have with the current tax code, and that is, why in the hell should anybody be allowed to point a gun in my face and put his hand in my pocket? Anytime somebody points a gun in my face and puts his hand in my pocket, I should be able to shoot him and walk away with no questions asked. If there's a gun in my face and a hand in my pocket, there should be a body at my feet and no questions asked. But that's not what we have right now.
Oh no, look,
with an actual fair tax, we're there.
Oh no, agreed. I was just using it as an example.
No, I understand, but I cannot ever allow the fair flat tax argument to proceed without acknowledging that the flat tax is still in fact a coerced confiscation of wealth.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of mob movies, and man, if people get paid out of your money before you get your money, that's the mob. I mean, seriously, that's mafioso.
Well, there's
tactics.
a word for it. There's actually a very specific word for it. It's called racketeering.
But this is why the libertarians say taxation is theft.
I mean, that's exactly how the current income tax system works. Hey, nice life you built here. Shame if anything was to happen to it.
Yeah, but if you ever need protection, we got you.
Except you don't, because you're slow.
Yeah. And bureaucratic and whatnot.
All right, so the rest of Asia is on the climb. Japan, Australia, South Korea, everybody else is on the climb.
Australia's not Asia, buddy, but
no, but they are part of this analysis.
just keep going.
I mean, we're talking about the eastern markets here.
Right, I understand.
And part of what's happening here is Japan has stepped up and not just offered to back the U.S., but made the claim that everybody needs to back the U.S. in this case. That's a big deal. So that's it. I mean, China is losing the trade war, and it's basically over. Part of what's happening, part of what's driving this sudden dip is one of the complaints that the Dems have been pointing at is that it's been a little bit hard on the farmers because of the amount of food that China has stopped buying, specifically corn. And Japan just said, we'll take it.
You cut us good price, we buy.
China was relying largely on our not exporting them corn to put pressure on the U.S. economy as part of their trade war tactic. As soon as Japan said, yeah, we'll take your corn. Well,
whoops.
China, that was when somebody else can buy your nuclear option, you don't have a nuclear option. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what total win looks like. You got anything else before I sign us off, brother?
No. Nope.
That's a hell of a sign off you got there. Hey, it's been a good morning. Total win. Keep on winning. And we love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Win. This guy so much sack. He protect, he attack. This guy no more.
Alright, I gotta go, Dad.
Got it? Got it? Oh, jeez.